Hey guys, welcome back. It's Russell. So on today's video, I am going to be using these compression fittings to repair a leak in my transmission line. So the B&M plate cooler that I installed several years ago, actually probably about 30,000 miles ago, and then I had installed next, I did the Durali spin-on transmission filter. Previous to me doing the plate cooler here, somebody had put an aftermarket, just one of those cheesy, Chinese made aftermarket coolers, and they had cut the lines, which I wouldn't have done, but so they just cut the hard lines, and they had the hoses running similar to this, and this works fine. It's been here for, gosh, probably at least 5 years since I did it, but I've always intended on replacing this connection here and here with compression fittings. So I'm going to be doing that and showing you how to do that. So the first thing that we need to do is take this line loose. I'm going to separate this joint. It's going to be pretty hard because this is it's a very tight fit. Okay, so I've disconnected the joint here, and it was really hard to get this off. So I'm just going to put this over here, let it drain just a little more. And right here we have a lip that we need to cut off so that we can get the compression fitting over it. So I'm just going to take a standard tubing cutter you'd use to cut brake lines or fuel lines or copper tubing. It really helps if you'll get one that's small like this if you're working in confined spaces. Move this. Cut the end off. Alright, so I've got this barb fitting in here, and then I put this, I took this fitting right here first and tightened it against this to get it to get where it would stay, so it would flare out here, because you need this part to twist as you're tightening this. So tighten this fitting up into here, and then just attach this like this. So just snug. You don't want it too awfully tight. And then let's go ahead and so this is really 4 pieces. All right. You've got the barbed fitting. Obviously that goes in the 3/8 hose. Then you've got this part right here, which goes over the hard line. The barrel or the ferrule slips on, so it will end up sitting like this in here. And then once I have that on there, then that's when you just tighten this down against it pretty darn snug, and you'll feel it start. What happens is it makes this ferrule right here crimp down and grab the compress, that's why they call it a compression fitting, and grab the line so it will not slide off. And then of course you're going to take this back off and then put this against the this portion here, because this is the part that you're going to end up tightening the final thing down. So I'm just going to show you guys on the other one. I'll do it on the other one first, but I'm going to go ahead and disconnect this line, cut it, and get to the point where I show you how to assemble it in the right order. Alright, so hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing here. I just cut the end of the line off. So we have plenty of run here. I'm going to take the portion that goes into the rubber hose and, whoops, I'm getting ready to mess up here. I've taken the clamps off. So I'm going to slide the 2 clamps on here. Alright, so it would require me putting my hands all in front of the camera to get this on properly. So right here. So I've got those on. They're really loose. And I'm just going to, this is probably the hardest part of this job, is getting this barb fitting. Okay. Whew. So it should be down all the way. And because it's so cold, I didn't mention to you guys that it's like 40 degrees out here. And even though I ran the truck, the lines are cold again. So I just took my heat gun, heated up, and it made 1,000 times the difference. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten these up. These happen to be, so that is going absolutely nowhere. Okay, so once that's on there, you're good. Now, I'm going to take the nut. All right, you want to make sure to slide that on before you put this little ferrule on. You're going to put that on there like that, and then I'm taking the ferrule and sliding it over, just like that. All right. Now, I'm going to take this part right here, the obviously the small diameter part. All right. So, next thing we have to do is we have to take this back off. All right. And there's the ferrule. It's not going anywhere. Okay. So what you have to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put Teflon tape just on this end here. All right. And then I will tighten it into here, right, like that. And then I'll show you what the next step is. This is the best tape ever, the Blue Monster. So I'm going to maybe give it 2 revolutions. Okay, that's it. So it should be like that. All right. I guess it's final wipe. Now, I know some people are going to say, oh, you put it on the tape on backwards. Should have done it the other way. If you get good quality Teflon tape like this, it doesn't matter. It's not coming off. The whole point of the Teflon tape is not to look pretty, it's to seal the threads. I know these are good quality. Okay, so that's done. Now the reason that I put this and this here is if you try to attach this, one of these has to move. It has to spin, and it has to be this one on the line itself. So I'm going to cut these zip ties real quick. I would probably make some custom like AN hard lines or something, and not use this cooler line, but this stuff works fine. Okay, so basically you want to just set this against the ferrule like that, right? And get it square, don't cross thread it. And then we're going to tighten this right here. This right here is not going to be very, it's going to be snug, but again, you gotta, it's about all you want, okay? And if it's weeping or leaking a little bit, we'll do that. This joint right here really is never ever going to come apart again unless I was to take anything out. If I do a fluid exchange, this is the one, because this line goes back to the transmission. That's the one that I would actually take apart. So, all right, this wind is really kicking up, so I'm going to spray the area down here real quick with some brake cleaner. And then we'll check for leaks. So I'm going to let this run a while. I'm going to go ahead and do my zip tie back up so that this doesn't vibrate around, and we'll be back to show the finished product. Okay, so I let it run about 10 minutes. It's up to operating temperature, and we have absolutely no leaks. There was a tiny little weeping here, and I just tightened this up just a hair, and it's fine. So I remarked the direction of flow for the lines in case I need to do any flushing or anything. I don't have to think about it. I can just look at the arrows. But I'm gonna leave a link to the part numbers for this these compression fittings from Durali. I got them on Amazon. So what I did was I'm going to take some transmission spacer, line spacers. This is just temporary. I don't have the lines touching. They're far enough apart where they're not going to rub, and with some zip ties, but this is not a permanent solution. I can get some block spacers right here that have rubber on them, and it's okay for the rubber up here, but for the transmission lines, don't want them rattling. It's not touching anything like it is, and it's secure, but I'll get those spacers and remove these zip ties. But yeah, so very pleased with how these turned out. I wish I had done this originally, but I just didn't. The time I was doing this, I didn't have these available. So anyway, it's done now. But I recommend that if you're going to put in a transmission auxiliary cooler, or if you're thinking about putting the Durali spin-on transmission filter, and you're going to have to modify the lines to do it this way, if you're not going to remake the entire line, just use the compression fittings. These are permanent. They come apart easy, and they're not going to leak. So that being said, I will talk to you guys on the next video.